He's here. Call to order the Greenwood Redevelopment Commission on this the 9th day of January of 2024. Happy New Year. And I want to welcome our newest member, Mr. Charles Miller, to the commission. Welcome. And can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Campbell.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Present.
Mr. Hopper.
Here.
Mr. Hoover.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Non-voting advisor, Mr. Zaborowski.
Here.
Thank you.
You have a quorum and you are all present in the building for the record. Organizational items, annual organizational matters, verification of swearing in of each commissioner. I'll look over here to Amanda and make sure we're all sworn in.
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. Verification that fiduciary bonds are in place.
All are signed, sealed, and recorded.
Sounds great, thank you. Annual conflicts of interest disclosures. We have one from Mr. Hoover and Mr. Harris. I assume.
Mine was one of the Greenwood Public Library, their council, and occasionally there are matters from the
Mine was working for Fifth Third Bank.
Is there a motion to approve those?
Make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Campbell, is there a second? Guess I'll make the second. Say Mr. Miller from not saying anything on his first meeting.
I didn't want to.
We'll go one at a time just so that each folks can abstain from their own. So we'll do Mr. Hoover. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
One abstention is approved 4-0 for Mr. Harris. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
16, one abstention. All right, both are approved 4-0-1. Election of officers. We need to elect a president, a vice president, and a secretary. I'm happy to serve again. But if anybody else would like to take nominations for president.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we keep the officers in place that were replaced the year before.
So that'd be myself as president, Mr. Hoover as vice president, Mr. Harris as secretary. Second, Mr. Cable.
Just verify to persons that
Myself as president, Mr. Oh, it can't be the same.
you were appointed by the council or the mayor.
I was appointed by the council.
Okay, then we're good.
I have a motion in a second. Are there any other nominations? Does anybody want to?
Move the nomination to be closed.
So, all right, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. We'll have the same slate of officers that we had last year. Thank you, everyone. It is a privilege serving as your president. All right, moving on. Is there a motion to approve our minutes from our December 12th meeting?
I'll motion.
Motion by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Hoover. Any corrections, deletions? Hearing none. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion is approved 5-0. New business. We have a riverfront district application from the Cigar Lounge. Is anybody here? All right, here. Step up to the podium, state your name, address for the record, and tell us what you're looking for.
Justin Eric Cadeo, we live 1693 Tremont Boulevard, Margaretville, Indiana 46106. And we're applying for a riverfront license. We get a second location for professional smoke. It is a working lounge for business professionals by day and a speakeasy bourbon lounge by night.
All right, and it's my understanding you don't actually have a location picked out at this time?
No, we have a letter of intent on a location, but
Okay.
not an accepted lease.
All right. So there's,
I'm sorry, are you able to disclose that or not?
The location?
Yeah,
Yes.
77 South Madison.
gotcha. Okay.
yeah, there was some question on whether or not we could approve one without a location, and I'll turn to council for that explanation if he wants to give one.
Yes, I reviewed the statute, and your action by this body is in the nature of a recommendation, and the statute does not clearly say that at this stage of the process, there has to be a location identified. Ultimately, when the application goes to the state, it does have to be identified. And so you would need to, in your motion, have the understanding that you're approving or providing a favorable recommendation for this, with the understanding that, one, the ultimate location would be within the riverfront district, and two, that wherever, if you decide to give them that flexibility at this point in the process, wherever the ultimate location is located by their selection, that would be tied to your approval or recommendation.
If I might, how, I know you've got a letter of intent, how committed do you think it is? I'm pretty confident that that place is, that's going to.
Yeah, we've met with the owner, and we're very confident that we'll be able to have a lease with them this month.
Okay.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
I'll motion with the stipulation Mr. Watson pointed out.
Go through the whole spiel, Mr. Watson.
Yeah, I do. It's good to have us on the record. And this commission has the duty to review the application, determine whether the proposed project would provide an economic benefit to the riverfront district, and recommend whether the project site should be considered eligible to be a permit premises in accordance with statute. Any motion to approve the application should also recommend that the project site be considered eligible to be a permit premises according to the statute, and direct the mayor to communicate the approved recommendation to the Alcohol Beverage Commission.
So I would assume the mayor has to wait before he sends it out for the physical location, right? Otherwise, he couldn't approve a premises.
I think that's correct.
It wouldn't have confirmation in the district.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
That, whatever that was, yeah, that's what I motioned.
Sounds good. All right, motion by Mr. Harris, second by
You're
Mr.
pretty
Moore.
articulate.
Yeah. Right. Any questions from anyone, comments? Hearing on all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Good luck.
All right, thank you very much.
No old business, capital project report, Main Street, Madison Avenue streetscape, change order number 5.
Sorry, just pulling up that riverfront. There is a little gap on
Got
Madison
77
Avenue,
Madison.
up around Kino Villa. I think I believe it is. I think 67 is, and I believe it's perhaps the furthest north. I know that the what's called the wake up lie is. We'll just have to check that. We just didn't know. There's a map on the website. Yeah. So this is probably the last change order there for the streetscapes. That work is done. I think it's working out pretty well. Several of these are actual sanitary sewer and stormwater change orders. The very large one is a sanitary one. The one that's for 191,000 is sanitary. We fixed 2 pipes coming down Meridian Street that at the end of the project that were ancient, so sanitary sewer will pay for those. And that's I've line item those, get those to Greg and Adam, and as soon as we get the final payouts, we'll move that money over and I can report those to the board. But overall, bring the contract up to $5.2,521,597.5.86. With again, I think we're currently about 800,000, right? Was my most recent takeoff of those change orders or of that cost was utilities. So we're actually pretty close to that original number when we back those out. But once you're digging, you might as well fix it.
Change order 5 was 322,000.
Correct.
Additional 86.
Yeah.
Just for the record, I couldn't download that off of SharePoint.
It took a minute, but I finally got it to come down, yeah.
Could have been
Oh,
noise
that's a
from
pretty good
the
I'll
planning
try to do
commission noise could have interfered with the.
I'll try to pay more attention to the size of the document.
Any other questions?
I move we approve change order number 5.
Mr. Moore, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Campbell. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
And I just have one other, on our projects is that they're starting, while they want to do it with this cool weather, they're starting to get the actual real turf down on the sports park. I think 4 of them have turf down now, so that project's coming along even in the bad weather. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Kevin.
Kevin, they'll walk away with
When,
that.
when do they think they'll be done, Kevin? If they've got,
No, our parks director
For one
took
record.
a prolonged Christmas break, and I would really advise you to talk to Rob
I
Tech.
say we gotta get this on.
yeah, get close to the mic, don't you? All right.
And I can give you his address, home address, cell phone.
All right, financial reports. Mr. Stone, you're up, sir.
That was quite the bus.
Actually, your meeting is immediately following this one.
Oh, okay.
Good afternoon, happy New Year. I'm here to, happy to address any of the questions on the monthly financial report, but probably the most important thing for the new membership would just be that link within your agenda goes out to the webpage updates every day. Okay. And then as far as actual agenda topics, we had a couple just housekeeping items at the start of the year. The first is we handed out a tax increment finance schedule that showed the 2023 revenue amounts by area. Do you all have that? Okay. So you can see our from 2019, 2020, pretty good growth, really, but for the 2020 year actual revenues year over year from a tax increment finance revenue perspective, it's increased. It's actually accelerated through 2023. There's been double-digit growth for the last 3 years from an aggregate perspective. 2023, so each year, each fall, we do the appropriations. We just did those for 2024. Those are the targets that are in there. We came a few percent points short of our 2023 estimates, but that was largely because we were over optimistic on the tax rate. So when we look at this, the TIP revenue is derived from the district tax rate at the incremental AV. Incremental AVs in 2023 were up 20%. The levy growth statewide was up, or in this area was up about 5% for that year. So that it drove the tax rates down farther than we even anticipated, which actually hurt our revenue forecast. Okay, so so that's what you'll see there. So we actually increased, off memory, I think it's about 11% year over year increase for 2023. We were estimating about a 15% increase year over year. That almost 100% of that differential is purely because the actual tax rates came in lower than we were expecting in the fall of 2022 when we originally made those estimates. For those of you who may not know, the tax rates are not certified when we're doing those revenue estimates. They're certified after the fact. So one of the things that we've Greg and I put together, Controller and I put together, is we basically we're testing out this year a reserve. So the estimated revenue amounts you see for 2024 actually bake in a 5% adjustment to tax rates that we don't know yet. Essentially, creating a reserve. So we use the certified pay rates for 23, which is known, the pay 24 AVs, which are known, but we essentially are downsizing that estimate by 5% just to try to have an allowance for that. And we'll see. We do know that the AV growth was less in 2024, but it was still pretty significant. So we'll just have to kind of hone in on that. But otherwise, it's been double-digit growth for the last 3 years. You'll see some things in there. The Fry Road US 31 TIF continues to be really the laggard. That's really a large taxpayer appeal concentration there. It's been well disclosed and documented. But then you also see like the Southwest allocation area, the Worstville Road allocation area, the central allocation areas have all really come on, in a pretty meaningful way. And then in 2024, we're starting to see some incremental revenues from some of the newer formed allocation areas, 5 Points, Arlington, et cetera. We think will come on. We don't anticipate any incremental revenues for the 2 newest work in progress progress allocation areas, at least for 2024. Okay. Any questions on that before? It's just a high-level summary. The annual report will go into much more detail, but we wanted to provide you some real-time numbers coming out of the year. Okay. The next item, item C, the Johnson County Auditor's Office approached all the units, or majority of the units, in mid to late December with agricultural valuation error. And essentially what happened is, I'm sure those of you have seen it, and it was basically the week of Christmas, and the long and short of it was that the county auditor's valuation for agricultural land wasn't updated. So it was off by, I think, a couple $100 per acre, which you can imagine at the order of magnitude, that was accretive. So they had to go through a recertification process. TIF is involved in that because we neutralize portions that are in the base to the AB. So all of that happened in sort of the last week or two of the year. It has been done. It was about $1.6 million in total incremental AB impact to Greenwood, about $140,000 per year incremental AB that was impacted. So just wanted to disclose that for you. The other handout that I had that looks like this is the updated revenue estimate and incremental ABs for that recertification. So it's more than a trivial amount, but it's not material to the overall revenue projection. And for those of you that serve on other units, you probably handled it on your side as well. Okay. But that process has been adjusted and completed, and these are the final numbers. Any questions there?
I've got one, Adam. So
Yeah.
am I understanding the two reports correctly? So anticipated TIF revenue 2024, 18,476.
Yeah.
And then this schedule you just talked about, it's 17,500. Is that what you're talking about, the differences?
Yes, sir. That's
Okay.
exactly right. And the difference is the anticipated TIF revenue, the tax rates we're using is pay 23. And we learned this year that if we don't, in a high growth scenario, that those rates are going to come down. So we won't be able to charge at that rate.
Got it.
Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. And once we do get the certified pay rate, we can bring that back to you all and let you know. That'll give us a much better ability if even that 5% adjustment was good enough. The next item I have is, this is a little bit ahead, but just to try to get a jump start, the 2023 annual financial report, the TIF management report that is due really at the end of this quarter. So we'd like to, in the past, we've worked with a member to sort of review that draft and get that in and submitted through Gateway. The past, Commissioner Harris has helped with that. I would just ask for that again this year, and wanted to just get ahead of that topic.
All right. And legally, I think what we have done is delegate authority to the secretary or whomever you want to finalize that document for submission.
We delegate that authority to Commissioner Harris.
Motion by Mr. Hoover, is there a second? Second by Mr. Campbell, thank you, sir. All those in favor, aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay.
Oh, Steve, just because.
One abstention, 4-0-1.
Very good, thank you. So we're weeks away from having a draft of that, so we'll make sure you all get an electronic copy and then work with you again, sir, to get that across the finish line. And then the last item I have for you today is update on the allocation areas. These are the two new ones that you did a declaratory for a couple meetings back. More specifically, this is the Interest Hauser project, US 31 Worsville, and the Multi-Dale Web project. Last evening at the Plan Commission, the plan order that is really step 2 of that process. Both of those were heard. They were both unanimously approved by Greenwood Planning Commission, which then essentially allows it to progress to the Common Council next. Assuming it goes through the Common Council, it'll be back at one of your agendas for a public hearing of all the overlapping units, and they will be mailed a tax impact statement for both of those areas. So just wanted to provide you a progress update on that.
And as Mr. Stone brought it up, I was to ask if Mr. Hopper and Mr. Campbell would be willing to sponsor both of those resolutions to the county council on Monday. Thank you. Wednesday, you're right.
I think that's all I have. Any other questions for myself?
Thanks, Ed.
Hey, thank you very much. Happy New Year, everybody.
You too. All right, department reports. Anything from Mr. Hodson?
Happy for me, thank you.
Mr. Watson?
I do have something, this is related to an economic development project, the National Trade Supply Project. Back in 2020, we entered into an agreement, an incentive agreement that essentially committed $60,000 to be paid as more or less reimbursements once personal property equipment had been installed on their project property. And as part of their project commitments, they are to file an annual report every year. They have filed it. They filed it, I think, with Adam in August. It was actually due in July 15th. Adam forwarded it to me to review. There were some shortcomings in terms of the documentation. And so Adam and I worked with the company to get those shored up. And at this point in time, they have taken care of those issues. And your docket does include, your claims docket does include a $24,000 payment to National Trade Supply, which is the amount that this year is due under the calculations that are provided for in the agreement. I would suggest that you recognize or accept the annual report, that you waive the late filing of the report and the request, and that you approve the incentive claim of $24,000. By the way, again, it was a $60,000 commitment, so previously approved and paid out, I think it was $35,000 and change, and there's about $550 left of that $60,000, so that's the update.
Is there a motion to that effect? Approve, accept the annual report with the late filing and
I'll motion, but I have a question.
Second.
I was just gonna say, so it seems like we have timing issues a little bit. Does the timing matter in terms of having it on July 15th versus some other later date? I don't know. I'm just asking that question.
From my standpoint, it does not.
Okay.
There are other situations where, for example, tax abatements, it does matter very much so.
Yeah.
But these are more just internal
Smaller.
city procedures, and ultimately, I don't think it's meaningful. Adam, do you have any comments on that?
Nothing further, nothing that.
anything else? All right, we had a motion by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Hoover. All those in favor, aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion approved 5-0. Sir? Mr. Wright?
Nothing from my office?
Sir? Okay, Mr. St. John, you are up, sir.
Well, good afternoon. I have two items before you tonight. They're both related. They're both utility reimbursement agreements with Duke Energy. This is for the roundabout at Smith Valley and Woodman at the high school entrance. Duke Energy has property interests. They own easements outside of the right of way. We're widening the road. The roundabout will be going into those easements. We have to relocate them, and so we are responsible for paying for their relocation. That's what these agreements outline. One is for Duke Energy Transmission, and one is for Duke Energy Distribution.
Move to approve these agreements?
Sir? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Miller, there you go.
What's the amount of this?
So the energy transmission one is for $366,350. And the Duke Energy Distribution one is for $321,250.73.
Any other questions? All right. We had a motion by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Miller. All those in favor, aye. All those opposed, nay. All right, motion approved 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anything from the mayor's office? Is there a motion to approve our January claims docket in the amount of $561,161.97?
A motion.
Mr. Harris,
Second.
second by Mr. Campbell. Any questions, comments? Favor aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. Anybody else have anything to say, either in person or out on the interwebs?
Did you want to address the October meeting?
Oh, yeah, we don't have to do it today. I think last year we moved the October meeting because, fall break was like the first week, and now Senator Rose moved it once again to like back in the middle of the month, so our meeting that we, moved in October is now on fall break, so, I'd like to move that, I think, to the week before, like, it would be a regular scheduled meeting, I think it's the second. But
It would be
look
moving from the 15th to Tuesday, October the 8th.
back to the,
And
uh,
trusting that you'll revise the
If you-
calendar.
you don't have to make a decision today. You can look at your calendars and let us know at the next meeting if that works or not, and then, make a decision. But yeah, thanks very much. Appreciate that.
Just to verify, I was just checking my calendar, and I assume it, well, my calendar shows 15th of October. Is that
That's what we scheduled.
Yeah.
it.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
move it back.
Back to the 8th.
Usually that fall break is that week before. They just
It's a
moved it.
leap year, that one extra day.
That must be, yeah. All right, so I've heard nobody wants to talk to us, again, so we will stay in the turn. Thank you.